Welcome back. This is Mr. Bowlby. We are in Domain 2, the classification of animals, CKLA. Lesson 2, cold-blooded and warm-blooded animals. What have we already learned? Well, we've learned that scientists classify animals, and the name for this branch of science is taxonomy. Classifying means grouping things together based on how they are alike and separating them by how they are different. Taxonomists classify animals based on their characteristics. We classify animals so that we can learn more about them. Brattonborough introduced us to his 5 friends: Tabitha Toad, Hilda Hippo, Ebenezer Egret, Paulo Piranha, Anna Anaconda. The names of Brattonborough's friends are all using a literary device called alliteration, in which the friends' first names and last names begin with the same letter and sound, except for Ebenezer Egret. We also named the 5 vertebrate groups of animals in which Brattonborough's 5 friends belong: amphibians, mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles. Which invertebrate group, which has the greatest number of species, has been identified by the taxonomists? The insect group has the greatest number of species on Earth. All right. Hi, boys and girls. I brought along my slideshow once again. Today, we're going to look at slides of my friends, some of whom are cold-blooded animals, and some of whom are warm-blooded animals. By the sound of it, you would think that warm-blooded animals have warm blood, and cold-blooded animals have cold blood. But in fact, this is not the case. The body temperature of a cold-blooded animal changes according to the surroundings or environment of that animal, whereas a warm-blooded animal maintains about the same temperature all of the time. I heard that you are keeping a chart to sort or classify animals into groups. What a great idea. You are practicing taxonomy, the study of classifying organisms, exactly like taxonomists do. You're going to be learning how to sort animals in a lot of different ways. Today, we are going to sort these 5 vertebrate groups into 2 smaller groups by discovering some common characteristics. You'll learn how to tell which animals are cold-blooded and which animals are warm-blooded. Now I'd like to help you understand a little more about cold-blooded animals. As you saw on this map, Colombia is in the north part of South America. He's a fish. His body temperature, the measure of how warm his body is on the inside, changes with his surroundings. Right now, his temperature is the same as the water in which he is swimming. When you go swimming, chances are the water is colder than your body temperature. I suppose it may depend on the day, but my guess is that the water is usually a bit cooler than you. Paulo does not ever feel cold in water because there is no difference between his temperature and the water temperature in which he lives. Have any of you ever used a thermometer? Perhaps when you are sick, your parents or a nurse might measure your temperature with a thermometer. When warm-blooded people get ill, their temperature often rises or goes up. A person's normal body temperature is about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it remains constant, or about the same most of the time. That's very different from Paulo. The way in which an animal's body temperature is controlled determines whether it is a cold-blooded or warm-blooded animal. My friend Paulo told me that his internal or inside body temperature is never constant. It does not stay the same. He cannot heat his body from inside like you, so his temperature must change with his surroundings in order for his body to work properly. He becomes hot when it is hot around him, and cold when it is cold around him. So, you see, although you and Paulo are both vertebrates, you also have differences. One of you is cold-blooded, and one of you is warm-blooded. Are you cold-blooded or warm-blooded? You're right. You are warm-blooded. So that makes Paulo, yes, cold-blooded. Most fish are cold-blooded, in fact. Two of my other friends are cold-blooded as well. Does anyone know who else among them is cold-blooded? Anna Anaconda and Tabitha Toad. Great answers. Next, I'd like to tell you a little about Anna Anaconda. Like Paulo, Anna lives in the rainforests of South America too, in the country of Peru, which is south of Colombia and east of Brazil. In fact, she shares Paulo's river home, but she is not a fish. She can swim, but she lives on land, and she is not dependent upon the water to stay alive. Does anyone remember what group of animals Anna belongs to? That's right. Anna Anaconda is classified as a reptile, and she shares some of Paulo's characteristics. They're both cold-blooded, but that doesn't mean that they don't enjoy being warm. Anna loves the heat. Her body is very long indeed, and she told me that one of her favorite things to do is bask out on a rock. Anna loves the heat. Her body is very long indeed, and she told me that one of her favorite things to do is bask in the sun. The sun helps her to stay warm, and her body soaks up the heat from the warm ground as well. Because she cannot control her own body temperature, Anna depends upon the sun and her warm surroundings to keep properly warm. In fact, my other cold-blooded friend, Tabitha Toad, likes the sun too. Frogs and toads share some of the same characteristics as fish and reptiles. They use their surroundings to maintain or keep constant the proper body temperature. Yes, indeed, Tabitha Toad is cold-blooded, just like Paulo and Anna. And like Paulo and Anna, Tabitha is very comfortable around water. She comes from the Amazon rainforest in the country of Brazil. But just because her home is near the largest river of the world, it doesn't mean she lives in the water all the time. Tabitha and all toads are actually more comfortable on land, whereas frogs prefer to be wet. Tabitha is an amphibian, which means that she can live both in and out of water. So there you have it. Fish, reptile, amphibian. 3 groups of cold-blooded creatures. Their body temperatures change depending upon where they are, becoming warm when their surroundings are warm, and cold when it's cold around them. Because they do not have constant body temperatures, they can easily become too cold or too hot. They have developed characteristics and behaviors so they can live in certain... Okay. Well, you see in this picture, there are the snakes huddling together, and the turtle looks kind of sleepy. Here we go. I'm thinking this turtle is searching for just the right spot in which to hibernate along this muddy bottom. In winter, there is less food for animals to forage or search for. So it is as good a time for them to hibernate or become inactive and to live off the stored energy in their bodies. Cold-blooded animals that live in very hot climates must do something like hibernate too. Instead of hibernation, which describes the process of keeping warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals from freezing when it is cold outside, the term estivation is used to describe the process of keeping only cold-blooded animals from overheating when it's very hot outside, or losing too much moisture during very hot periods. For example, crocodiles estivate or become inactive when it's too hot. They stay in the water or mud to cool off and escape the heat of the very hot climates where many of them live. Some snails estivate to stay moist during parts of the summer dry season. Remember that word, estivate. It's important. So everybody, let's see what you've learned from seeing our cold-blooded friends, Paulo, Anna, and Tabitha. If the temperature outside is 45 degrees Fahrenheit, what are their body temperatures going to be? Right, 45 degrees. Cold-blooded animals do not have constant internal body temperature. It changes with their surroundings. Warm-blooded animals like you and me are much different. If the outside temperature is 45 degrees Fahrenheit, what is your internal temperature going to be? About 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. because our bodies regulate our internal body temperatures and keep them constant. We're able to live in both very hot and very cold climates. Most of the time, warm-blooded animals don't even think about regulating their body temperatures. They use the food they eat to produce heat inside their bodies. Sometimes, however, in especially cold or hot temperatures, they need to do a little extra something to help regulate their temperature. What do you do to help your body stay warm when it's very cold outside? Yes, you may put on extra layers of clothing, move around, sit by the fire, or drink some hot chocolate. Who can tell me what you do to cool off on a hot day? Yes, you may take off some extra clothing, lie down, lie still, go for a swim, or have a cool drink. Dogs pant and humans sweat to cool off as well. Like people, other animals seek out the shade of trees to cool themselves. Some animals, like the elephant, can fan themselves with their large ears. The large, thin ears of some animals are good places for the heat to escape, which cools their body even more. Let's learn a little about two of my other friends, my warm-blooded friends. A bird, Ebenezer egret, and a fellow mammal, Hilda Hippo. They both live on the continent of Africa. Ebenezer in the country of South Africa, and Hilda in the East African country of Tanzania. Mammals and birds produce their own body heat eternally, which keeps their body temperatures constant. We are going to see some ways these warm-blooded animals help their bodies hold on to their warmth when it's cold outside to keep cool when it's very hot outside. For instance, a body characteristic of a whale is that it has blubber, which gives an extra help in staying warm. This allows a whale to have a wider range of habitats because it can swim in colder waters. Ooh, look at this picture of the globe. You see Africa, and if you can find Tanzania and South Africa. Tanzania is a little bit north of South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and then Tanzania. Very good. One thing's for sure. Ebenezer egret does not put on a winter coat like you do when it's cold outside. Of course, he doesn't need to put on an extra coat because he already has a brilliant coat of feathers. Feathers help keep Ebenezer warm. Want to know an interesting fact that Ebenezer shared with me while I was visiting South Africa? Egret's beautiful white feathers were once prized by hat makers who used them for the sake of a woman's hat, fashion, and beauty. Not warmth. Imagine that. Fashion and beauty. Okay. Birds that live in cold climates sometimes travel south for the winter to make it easier to stay warm and find more available food. Migration is a behavior or something an animal does to help it stay warm. Often physical characteristics help an animal stay warm. Ebenezer wears a coat of feathers, and I wear a coat of fur. Are you wondering what Hilda Hippo uses for a little additional warmth because she doesn't have fur? Let's take a look and see. I have a bit of news for you. In the hot tropical climates of Africa, where Hilda Hippo lives, trying to stay cool is more common occurrence than trying to stay warm. Hilda's body design is perfect for helping her stay cool. She has a nice layer of blubber that insulates her and helps her float. Hippopotami spend lots of time in the water of lakes and rivers to escape the heat. Can you see any other characteristics of hippopotamuses that help it stay in the water for long periods of time? Good observations. Notice how its nostrils, eyes, and ears on the top of its head let the hippopotamus keep most of its body underwater where it can stay cool. Ebenezer also uses water to stay cool. Even though egrets can't swim, they do spend lots of time wading in the water, mostly to get their dinner. They feast on fish and toads and plenty of insects in order to store up the energy needed to control their body temperatures. Well, everybody, our time is up for today. You have learned a lot about taxonomy of cold-blooded and warm-blooded animals. So now, you can fill out our classification chart. Next time we meet, we'll continue with our slideshow and sorting our animal friends into groups, those with backbones and those without. Do you think Hilda Hippo has a backbone? How about you mull this over until next time, be ready to share your predictions. I can't wait to see all of you again and continue with the show. Bye for now. Very good. Now we're going to discuss what we've learned so far. What do we mean when we say an animal is cold-blooded? Its body temperature changes with its surroundings, and it is not regulated eternally. It is not constant. Describe how cold-blooded animals warm their bodies. They bask in the sun. They seek out warm places, or they hibernate. Very good. Describe how they cool their bodies. Like the hippopotamus, right? They estivate, or they seek shade, water, mud, or other places with cooler temperatures. Crocodiles, remember? What do we mean when we say an animal is warm-blooded? It regulates its body temperature eternally to keep a constant eternal temperature all the time. Describe some ways that warm-blooded animals help their bodies stay warm when it's especially cold outside. Pink. They eat food, they hibernate, they have feathers or fur, migrate, and huddle together. Those are all good answers. Describe some things that a warm-blooded animal does to help its body cool off when the outside temperatures are especially hot. They sweat, they pant, they drink lots of water, or they go in the cool water. Very good. Makes you want to go swimming. What groups of animals did you hear about that are cold-blooded? Fish, amphibians, and reptiles. Very good. What groups of animals did you hear about that are warm-blooded? Birds and mammals. So write warm-blooded or cold-blooded for each animal group in the classification chart. Point out that insects, which make up the largest invertebrate group, are marked as cold-blooded on the classification chart because they are classified as cold-blooded animals. So you'll put insects underneath the cold-blooded, along with fish, amphibians, and reptiles. Which is funny because insects are largely the diet of fish, amphibians, and reptiles. Warm-blooded animals such as dogs and whales don't have to wear clothes because they have a different kind of body warmth, right? Which is fur. Fur coats, thick feathers, or blubber. You've heard that some animals hibernate during winter to stay warm. What are some other reasons animals hibernate? Other than just boredom. Animals hibernate for boredom. To save energy. So they don't have to eat as much because there is not as much food in the winter. Very good. In the read aloud today, you learned that some cold-blooded animals estivate when it is hot in order to survive. Give an example of a cold-blooded animal and what it might do to estivate. We talked about a couple. There is a turtle or a frog. That's a good example. They will dig down into the mud and become inactive to stay at the bottom of a pond. Are hibernation and estivation similar? How are they similar? Well, during both, animals become inactive. Both processes help protect from extreme weather conditions. How are they different? How are hibernation and estivation different? Animals hibernate when they are cold and estivate when they are hot. They hibernate when they are cold and estivate when they are hot. Warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals hibernate. Only cold-blooded animals estivate. Good. Describe the behavior and characteristics that that help a hippopotamus keep warm, or keep from getting too warm. Right. Remember we talked about the hippopotamus and saw him in the water. He spends time in the water to keep cool. His nostrils, eyes, and ears are on the top of his head. And what is the plural form of hippopotamus? hippopotami or hippopotamuses. Yeah, hippopotami is good. I'm going to ask a question and give you a minute to think about it. Then you'll turn and discuss it with your neighbor. And then we will call on a few of you to discuss it with partners in class. You learned that humans are warm-blooded animals. Why is it that humans, as warm-blooded animals, can live in many different environments? Think about that for a moment. Okay. Some good answers would be that warm-blooded animals regulate their body temperatures eternally. Energy from food helps keep them warm, helps warm them up. They add or remove layers of clothing, or they heat or cool their homes. So that's what humans will do. Good. Word work. The word for today is constant. In the read aloud you heard, a person's normal body temperature is about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it remains constant. Something that is constant does not change very much. It stays steady and even. Miguel's grandfather is a constant support to him when he needs help with his math homework. Have you ever noticed something or someone in your life that is a constant, or that stays steady? What or who is it? Be sure to use the word constant when you tell about it. And I will call on 2 or 3 of you to use that in a sentence. The thing constant in my life is, and you can write it down as well. The thing in my life that stays constant is. Good. Making choices activity for follow-up. I'm going to name a situation. If what I name is an example of something that is steady and constant, you will say that is constant. If the example changes a lot and is not constant, you say that is not constant. On some days, Janie is friendly to me, and on other days, she doesn't talk to me. Constant or non-constant? That is not constant. Good. My aunt is always willing to talk when I have a problem to solve. Constant or non-constant? Constant. Very good. My pet snake's temperature goes up and down depending upon whether she is lying under the heat lamp or not. Constant or not constant? That is not constant. Eating a good breakfast every day helps me think clearly at school. Constant or not constant? That is constant. Sam's eternal body temperature stays about the same whether it is a cold, blustery, wintry night or a hot, muggy summer afternoon. Constant or not constant? Same makes it constant. Here's another poem today. The Crocodile by Lewis Carroll. How doth the crocodile improve his shining tail and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spreads his claws and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. That's lovely. Think about that poem. On this page, you're going to write about the crocodile, and then on all the little bubbles around it, you'll write things about the crocodile. Like it likes to estivate, to keep cool, smile, skin, where it lives, cold-blooded, warm-blooded, reptile or amphibian. Each of those characteristics you'll write around in the bubbles around that. Good. And there's a picture of a crocodile. Very good. Now on the cold-blooded and warm-blooded animal chart, this is where you will fill in, during the read aloud, you listen to the characteristics of warm-blooded animals and characteristics of cold-blooded animals. And if you need to re-listen to it, go right ahead. So you're going to list characteristics of warm-blooded animals on the left and characteristics of cold-blooded animals on the right. Warm-blooded and cold-blooded. Tell me how they're similar or tell me the differences because they each have different characteristics. Some have to hibernate or estivate. Some can remove clothing or have fur. Just tell me what the characteristics are. Very good. That is the end of this lesson, lesson 2 of Domain 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, this is Mr. Bowlby, and I will see you in the next lesson. Thank you.